So, how does it feel to be 1 year alcohol free?
Oh, Janet, it feels amazing. I can't think of a better way to celebrate it and mark the occasion. Being here with you, the founder of Tribe Sober, what an honor and what a privilege and what a way to mark my Soberversary. It really feels fantastic. It is a milestone, and I'm so grateful to be here.
Can you cast your mind back to how you felt a year ago when you decided to join us?
I have known that I've been a problem drinker for probably throughout my late 20s, my 30s, and my 40s. I've just known I'm quite a sensitive soul. Although I had some success with AA, it didn't last. The disease model didn't sit well with me, and I never wanted to own the statement of I'm an alcoholic. And I never wanted to live in a way that I was gritting my teeth and hanging on by the skin of my teeth. I just knew that the better way, but I just hadn't found it yet. So I'd gone back and forth to AA, which I think is a wonderful fellowship with tremendous tools. If it works for people, I've got no criticism, but it wasn't right for me. I just felt it was a very restrictive, demanding way to live. I also tried naltrexone that made me really ill. Throughout my life, I just made many declarations and attempts through self-help to change. I just fell flat on my face because moderation doesn't work because you're dealing with an addictive substance. It's everywhere. It's almost impossible to escape until you find the escape route.
Yeah. So, what was different about this time?
Oh gosh. So I think that this time I'd listened to a lot of podcasts. I'd done Craig Beck's course in London, paid a lot of money to do that. I read Claire Pooley's book, Annie Grace's book, William Porter's book, Craig Beck's book, and The Unexpected Joy, Catherine Gray. So I was constantly doing research. I was constantly educating myself and reaching out and listening. But I started listening to you quite regularly. And I loved your story. I resonated with so much of what you shared and related to so much of what you shared. I know that Tribe Sober, it's a large female presence. There was something about that just made me feel really safe. I just felt really safe. Your story resonated. The age that you stopped drinking, I was at that age when I found Tribe Sober. So listening to you, I thought, it's not too late, Lorraine. You can still do this. And I listened for a long time, but we can sit on the fence for a long time. But sitting on the fence doesn't help us progress in our journey. We got to get off the fence and we've got to make a commitment and enter into something wholeheartedly. It took me ages to commit, but once I committed, that was it. I also felt that listening to you and all the other wonderful people that were interviewed, there was just a tremendous wealth of wisdom and insights and nuggets. But I also felt for me that this was my time. Sometimes you just have a conviction. This is your time, and you need to grab that with every fiber in your being and go with it. In the tribe, we use the saying a lot, connection is the opposite of addiction. Dream work makes the team work. If you're going to jump out of a plane, Tribe Sober is the parachute that you need to jump out of that plane. If you've jumped out of the plane a million times, you know what to do. But if you're jumping out for the first time, you know that you need a navigation system. You know that you need backup. You know that you need to know how to use that parachute. Connecting to the tribe. It's the sat nav that tells you these are going to be the pitfalls. These are going to be the potholes. This is where it's going to get bumpy. This is where the wind's going to pick up. This is what you want to avoid. This is what you want to expect. But we're all going to be here for you. And you know what? Whatever you felt, we felt it too. Okay. So it was you'd gone ahead, you'd built the road for me, you'd walked the journey, and I could just catch hold of your coattails and hang on to them, especially during the bumpy bits.
Yeah. And there were bumpy bits for you, Beth. I remember those bumpy bits. Do you remember them?
I do, Janet. And, I would say to anybody listening to this or starting this journey, I would say that drinking is hard because you're always recovering. And drinking is going to undermine your physical health, your mental well being. It's going to diminish who you are as a person. In contrast, I would say giving up drinking, ditching the booze, which has never done you any favors, is also hard. But I would say choose the hard that leads to freedom. Because if you carry on drinking, it will lead to death, either slowly or swiftly. It can be slowly, death by 1,000 cuts, or it can be swiftly, depending on the quantity that you're consuming. For me, the hardest bit, the first 6 months is tough. The first year is tough. But for me, I had to just trust the process and tell myself the whole time when I was tempted by the wine witch, I just had to tell myself, this isn't an option. Trust the process. I would think about what you'd said and what Lynette and Lynn and Grania and Monica and Helen, what they'd said. And I'd just say, look, if they can do it and they've gone through it and they've just fought through those pain barriers, then so can I. And the first 6 months, the emotional upheaval of your brain recalibrating, of your body recovering, is really hard, really hard. But our bodies are wonderful.
Yeah.
They're wonderful. And if you give them the chance for your liver to breathe a sigh of relief and for your brain to breathe a sigh of relief and say, thank God she's not pouring that toxic poison down her throat and I can start to heal. That's what you do. And it really is a process and it really isn't easy. It's not unicorns and rainbows. It's hard graft and applying the knowledge and connecting to the tribe. And that's not hard. Connecting to the tribe is lovely. Showing up for Zoom meetings is really important. Showing up sometimes is hard when all you want to do is cry and say, woe is me. I just feel a complete and utter mess. I just want to crawl into a hole, avoid all of this. It's quite hard to make yourself vulnerable. When you do that, all you get is love, affirmation, acceptance, encouragement. And other people say, yeah, I'm going through the same thing, or I've been through that. Hang on in. Just hang on in, and you will come through it. So that's what I would say about the start of the journey.
I think that's so true, Beth, just to trust the process and keep going because we never tell people it's easy, do we? All we tell people is that it's worth it. It's worth it. And it's
Absolutely.
hard, but carry on drinking and your life just does get harder and harder over the years.
Absolutely.
When would you say it started to get a bit easier?
I'd say there are moments, to quote Grania, she calls them glimmers. Our wonderful Tribe Sober ambassadors. The other wonderful thing about this community is it's an international community, which is fabulous. So I'd say that there are glimmers throughout the first few months. There's a period where you hit something called anhedonia, but that's all explained. So I would say 6 months, you start to get a little bit more peace, a lot more clarity. The mornings, which were really hard for me, started to get easier. And then I think for me, probably about around 9 months, I can't be specific, but along with the peace and the clarity, because anyone who is a real drinker, they'll understand when I say, when you're recovering from alcohol, there's so much noise in your head. There's so much anxiety and angst and noise and jittering that whilst you can appreciate beauty, you can't really be present in the moment because your body is working hard to recover. But when all the crap is out of your system and all of a sudden the peace and the clarity is there, all of a sudden you come into the present moment and you think, oh. And it's like childlike wonder. I'll never forget, I was walking across a field of dandelion clocks. And I almost felt like I was in a Walt Disney movie because it was like time stood still. I looked back and the sun was hitting every dandelion clock that I looked at, and it was so magical. And it was like I was looking at the trees and I could almost hear the trees whispering. And in all of that, the whisper was stillness, peace, beauty, calm. It was my nervous system coming into line and being ministered to, if you like, by nature and by the things that are put into place to minister to us in a natural way. Those moments where time stands still, you never get that when you're drinking, ever.
I think at that stage, we also start believing in ourselves. I remember after about 6 months, I was, oh, maybe I can do this thing. Whereas at the beginning, you're all over the place and wondering if it's at all possible. So, yeah, the self belief is big as well.
Absolutely. Your confidence starts to come back and you start to think, maybe I can trust myself to make this decision without second guessing myself, without constantly consulting other people. Maybe I can start to trust myself again. And you can do that because the biggest self-care gift you're giving yourself is sobriety. So everything is growing. When your sobriety muscles grow, your confidence, your clarity, everything is given room to grow and breathe.
And did you get more energy as well?
Yeah, the energy took a while. And when it comes, you want to pinch yourself because you just think, wow, it doesn't come necessarily when you think it's going to come. It doesn't come necessarily first thing in the morning. Sometimes it comes at different times in the day and you think, all of a sudden, it's like I've had my fuel tank filled and I'm good to go and I can tackle that job or tackle this and you're buzzing. But I think with the energy comes an excitement that's been so repressed by the damage that alcohol has done. The excitement, along with that childlike wonder, the excitement, I think, why am I feeling excited? Maybe you're just excited about life. Maybe because you're feeling better, you're excited about life. Hey, how great is that?
Because we almost mute our lives, don't we, when we drink? We're just not experiencing the joys or the sorrows properly because we're just numbing it all away.
Absolutely. We diminish everything. We diminish who we are in our true authenticity with all of our precious, unique facets. We diminish all of that. You're just selling yourself short, selling your soul for a cup of poison.
It's madness. What did your friends think about this new Beth?
I think some of them were skeptical and some of them were, oh, you'll just have a break, right? You'll just have a break. And I said, I don't know. I might never drink again. I was 60 when I gave up the booze, which is a great time to give it up. Any time is a great time to give it up. But 60 is a great time because you can say to people, hey, look, I want to do well in my 70s. I want to be climbing mountains in my 80s. And I'm thinking about my health and my longevity. So, yeah, a lot of surprise, a lot. Oh, I'm sure it'll just be a temporary thing. Lots of questions. But I think the friends that were really detrimental in my life, the drinking friends, went a while ago.
Yes. Yeah.
They're no longer in my life, thank God.
And
Yeah.
what about your partner? Can I ask you about your partner?
This is such a success story, Janet, and talk about two for one. So my lovely husband, who's a pharmacist, we run community pharmacies. We've done that for many years. He loved his wine. He was a wine connoisseur and he drank expensive wine, all good wines. We did that for many years. And there were times where we had a lot of fun. And there were a lot of times where it ceased to be fun. I stopped August the 21st and he carried on for a month after. And then he came to a decision. We went out to a restaurant. He had wine, I didn't. And it was a really bizarre experience. And then he said to me, it's not going to work if I don't stop too. It's just not going to work, for which I'm eternally grateful. Since my husband stopped, he's lost 3.5 stone in weight and his blood pressure. So this is over less than a year. His blood pressure, which was worryingly, alarmingly high, has now normalized and is brilliant. And the GP said to him, Mr. Thomas, what we couldn't achieve with medication, 2 lots of medication, you have achieved through a lifestyle. I'm going to take you off this medication. You keep doing what you're doing because it's fantastic. And his blood pressure is perfect.
Wonderful. You didn't have to nag him or suggest, he just made his own mind up, didn't he? That's great.
Absolutely. And apart from the small mortgage that the monthly bill would have been for the wine, that's another saving, the financial saving.
Yeah,
But the critical saving is to your mental well-being and your physical health.
absolutely. Did you struggle with sleep at all, or?
Yeah, I did. I did. The sleep is getting better all the time. But I think if the alcohol industry could have hand-drawn and picked the perfect candidate to support them and make them wealthy, would have been somebody like me who had lots of issues around sleep and lots of issues around feeling repressed and inadequate. So I bought into the lie that alcohol was the solution, the joy juice, the Dutch courage in every situation. So yes, the sleep's something I've struggled with, but I would say it's 80% better than it was when I was drinking. I don't miss those nights of waking up. I still wake up to sip water, but there were nights when I would wake up, excuse the expression, Gandhi's flip-flop, where your mouth is so dry and you are glugging back literally pints of water in the middle of the night, and because you're so dehydrated.
Yeah. So a while ago, we made you a Tribe Sober ambassador, and you've already done some wonderful work as an ambassador because you're such an inspiration to people. How do you feel about being an ambassador?
Oh, Jana, I just feel it's such a privilege and such an honor. It sounds trite, it's important to give back, but I think you can give something very real back. The blood, sweat, and tears that you've gone through can help other people be another brick in the road that they're building on their journey to sobriety. Why wouldn't I sing about something changed my life?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing that for 10 years, and I think it strengthens our own sobriety, don't you?
Absolutely. I think it reinforces the message. It keeps you connected to where you've come from.
Yeah.
It's really important
Yeah.
to see when people come in and they're just so wobbly and so vulnerable, and there's so much chaos in their lives and they just are struggling. It just keeps you connected to your original journey, which is really important to keep grounded and at the same time being their cheerleader, encouraging them.
Yeah. And seeing the transformation of people on the Zoom meetings from day one, and then just a few weeks later, people look so different, don't they? I think
Oh,
the physical changes are quite remarkable.
absolutely. The dehydration, what it does to our skin, it really physically alters how we look. Every morning I look in the mirror and I'm amazed at my eyes. They look clear. The puffiness is gone. And so, yeah, it's great.
And what about people listening to this that are where we were a few years ago and they just can't imagine being able to manage without drinking alcohol? What would you say to them?
I'm going to tell a story that I heard, a true story I heard about an eagle that was held in Pretoria Zoo. Not sure the age, maybe it was there for 10 years. One day they decided to set this eagle free. So they took the eagle in a large cage out to the plains somewhere in Africa to release this eagle. They opened the cage expecting the eagle to take off. The eagle didn't take off, didn't move. They decided to give the eagle some gentle encouragement and some more encouragement. I don't know whether they were giving it just a gentle shove or prodding or what have you, but the
Treats.
eagle didn't want to move. It had become used to the limitation and the confines of the cage. And it was comfortable there because that was the only world the eagle knew. Suddenly, overhead, oh, I've got to say this without getting emotional. I will say it without getting emotional. Overhead, an eagle flew. a free eagle, and the free eagle let out a cry. The eagle in the cage recognized the cry of the free eagle, and it took off and it flew. Now, I tell you that story because when that eagle heard the cry of the free eagle, all of a sudden it knew who it was. It recognized its DNA. It recognized that it wasn't created to be entrapped, limited, confined in a cage. It recognized that it was created to be free. If you're listening to this and you're contemplating this journey of sobriety, let me tell you this. You were created to be free, not enslaved to any drug or any toxic poison like alcohol. You're created to be free. For me, the cry of the free eagle was listening to Janet talk about progressing her life, rediscovering her creativity, seeing her flourish, not just hanging on by the skin of her teeth, thinking every day I've just got to avoid drinking, but developing her life, developing the podcast, listening to the other women on the podcast, listening to their lives flourish and become a big success. For me, that was the cry of the free eagle saying, come on, Lorraine. Come on, Lorraine. The view is better up here. It's a much better view. You're designed for a wide open space. You're designed for a wide open space. Alcohol will make your world so small. And you can do it with help. With help. Join the tribe. Join any tribe you like. But Tribe Sober, for me, is the parachute that I needed when I jumped out of the plane, that held me safe, gave me the direction that I needed. And you'll get the support, you get the education, you get the information, you get all the tools, but you'll also get the love that you need, because it's all based on love. We're here because we want to help. We want to share what we've got because we know it's ours forever. So that's what I'd say.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. But yeah, the irony of alcohol is it keeps us in a cage, it keeps our lives small, but the door to that cage is open. And like your eagle, frightened to fly without it, aren't we? But I think if you're in a community, you just get inspired by people like yourself and you start thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? And then you notch up days and weeks and months, you realize it's possible.
And you hear time and time again on this podcast, you hear people saying, I just knew, maybe they hadn't reached a rock bottom, but you hear people say, I just knew that I couldn't fulfill my potential. I just knew that I couldn't achieve all of my dreams and ambitions. And then you hear people further down the line and those plans are unfolding and manifesting. And you think, if they can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So year 2. Well, year 2 starts tomorrow. How are you going to handle year 2? What's in store?
So I'm really excited. I think for me, the first year really has been about recovering. I recently shredded 40 years of journals, which were very helpful at the time. But you know what? That's the past. And I'm excited about the future. And those journals were probably all about my drinking. They were probably all subjective, morose, get me out of here kind of talk. I feel like I'm still dealing with a backlog of things, unfinished projects, decisions that I haven't made, things I've procrastinated over, metaphorically speaking, what I've shoved in a cupboard and tried to close the door on. Because in my drinking, in the chaos that drinking brings, you just can't deal with everything. You just firefighting and dealing with the day. So in my second year, I want to mop everything up, get some real order into my life, and then start pursuing some creative routes. I love the idea of writing a book, a screenplay, whatever, just really fulfill my creativity, do some long haul travel. But I know now that I'm fit for purpose. I can make the right decisions. I can make the right decisions. I can trust myself. It's hugely exciting because it's a wide open space.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see what you do. You know, I love your analogies, Beth. What's your favorite analogy?
Oh, gosh.
The eagle story is a beautiful one, of course, but what else?
Yeah, the eagle story, the parachute. My mind just thinks in pictures. One that's just come to me instantly now, the bridge that Tribe Sober is. You step on the first step of that bridge and you go over that bridge slowly, holding on to the handrails. And on that bridge, there are other people with you, helping you, cheering you on. And even when you're in your kitchen contemplating a drink, because you've met these women online and you've communicated with them and they've encouraged you, you think, no, I don't want to let them down. I don't want to let myself down. I want to go back onto the Zoom and say the wine witch was breathing down my neck and I told her where to go. Just stepping onto the bridge that leads to freedom. Choose the heart that leads to freedom. If there are two doors in front of you and one is life and one is death, you need to choose life. With all its ups and downs, you will be far more equipped to deal with its downs with a sober mind. We've gone through some really major things this year. We've gone through some really major life events, and I have never been more grateful and more relieved to have my clarity of mind to deal with what we're going through. I've never been more grateful to have that. Boy, oh boy, have I needed it. So, yeah, freedom. Choose the path to freedom, the bridge to freedom.
Anything else you'd like to say before we finish, Beth?
If you're listening and you're sitting on the fence, get off the fence and move on with your life. I would just encourage anybody listening to this to say, seize the moment to say, this is my time for recovery and sobriety.